and welcome to another episode of The Podcast Coaches. My name is Mark McCray.
I'm Tony Scott.
And so we are longtime broadcasters who like to give you free podcast coaching tips.
Yeah.
It's something that we offer. We also own and run a podcast studio in North Dallas. Mm-hmm. Today's topic is, how often should I podcast?
Well, you know what? And that's a great question. You need to podcast as often as you are allowed to. Meaning, I was working with someone who wanted a podcast every day, and I told him that's a lot. You think that's not a lot? That's a lot, because you have to set up, and you have to edit, and you have to promote it, and there's a lot that goes into that. The biggest thing, I think, Mark, is whatever you decide to do, that's what you need to do, and you need to be devoted to that.
Yeah, that's the biggest answer. The biggest answer is consistency is the key. Mm-hmm. Whatever you decide on and whether you start with is what you have to end up with. So if you decide you want to do it every day, or if you want to do it every week, or you want to do it twice a month, or you want to do it once a month. Here's how I would caution you, though, right? The longer they are in between podcasts, the harder it is for you to build an audience. Yeah. The standard optimal thing would be a weekly podcast, and you also release it the same day every week, or at least around that time. So if Wednesday's your day to push it out, then that's what you should do, right? That's how often you should do it. Now, if you start out at a week, it's going to be harder for you to move to 2 weeks. You should probably start at 2 weeks and then start making it a weekly podcast. Don't go the other direction.
Right. But the most important thing is you got to stick to the schedule, because when you tell your audience, and you're going to tell that's the other thing too. You need to tell your audience when the podcast goes up and how often it goes up, and say it more than once. That's important, but you need to stick to that schedule, because there's an expectation that you need to meet with your listeners. If you tell them once a week, you need to do it once a week. If it's every 2 weeks, you need to do it every 2 weeks. You need to stick to that schedule.
It's kind of like a people's favorite TV show. It's like it can't be on, okay, well, it's on Thursday now, and it's supposed to be on next Thursday, but they didn't record any episodes for 2 weeks, so I had to wait. No, you can't do that.
No.
So here's the short answer, right? You need to be consistent. That's the first thing.
Number one.
The second thing is that you need to make sure that you choose what it is and be disciplined to that. 1 week is optimal. Every week is optimal. If not, do 2 weeks. A month may be too long, but if you are going to do a month, at least be consistent with it. Daily is a huge commitment. And if you do
If you do, wash your hands.
If you do a daily podcast, make sure that they're pretty short, okay?
Yeah.
All right. So that's the latest tip from the podcast coaches.
Absolutely.
How often should I podcast? Probably every week. But just make sure that you understand its commitment and be consistent with it so you can build an audience.
Well, I think you put it in a nutshell right there. Deliver what you promise and stick to that. Otherwise, you're going to hurt yourself.
And by the way, subscribing is free, so hit that subscribe button. Mm-hmm. Take care.